In this chapter, we are going to talk about communication in friendships. We're going to start by taking a look at the different types of friends that we might have, then looking at how our friendships might change over the course of our lives, before finally taking a look at the different influences that can have an impact on our friendships. So when you think of your friends, you probably think of a lot of different types of people. You might think of your best friend, you might think of a work friend, a school friend, a friend of the family, a Facebook friend. Now, for our purposes, however, we are going to define friendships as being voluntary interpersonal relationships between two people who are usually equal and who mutually influence one another. So these are voluntary relationships. We choose to get into them. It's between two people who are usually equal, so there's not really a power differential between people. And the lives of the individuals within this relationship impact one another. So what I do in this friendship will impact my friend. An interesting thing about friendships is that they tend to be more vulnerable than some of the other relationships that we talk about, such as romantic relationships. This is likely because of their voluntary nature, the availability of our other friends, and the lack of social and institutional support that other relationships have. For example, in romantic relationships, we can cement that relationship by getting married, for example, or having a civil union. And that there's no equal ceremony for friendships, so they don't have that same kind of support system that other relationships might. Now, we are likely to have several different kinds of friends in our lives. The reciprocal friend is a solid interpersonal relationship between people who are equals and who have a shared sense of loyalty and commitment to one another. Reciprocal friendships can often withstand big changes in the lives of the individuals, such as geographic separation or fluctuation in other commitments, such as work and childcare. These are those really strong friendships that last a really long time in our lives. And an example of a reciprocal friendship are the relationships that we have with our best friends. Associative friendships, on the other hand, are mutually pleasurable friendships or relationships between acquaintances or associates that, even though they are positive, they lack the commitment of reciprocal friendships. So these are still really good and positive relationships, but they're just not as strong. Generally speaking, associative friendships are maintained out of convenience or in order to meet instrumental needs. For example, you might make a friend at the gym, and that friendship might end if the gym were to close or if one of you were to move away. Similarly, you might make a friend in this class, and it might be the case that you never speak to that friend again after this class is over. I know that I had a lot of friends in college that I had for one class, and then I never spoke to them again. And there's nothing wrong with that because we were friendly and it was a positive relationship while the relationship was happening. It just didn't meet the needs that either of us had after that class was over. We might also have receptive friendships. These are friendships that include some kind of status differential that makes the relationship asymmetrical. This could, for example, be a relationship between a supervisor and their subordinate. If you are friends with your boss, that could potentially be a beneficial relationship to you, right? It can be a positive relationship. However, that relationship could very quickly sour if the person who has more authority or more power begins to abuse that power against the other person. So we do have to be careful with those receptive friendships. And the final friendship that I want to talk about are friends with benefits. These are relationships that have the closeness of a friendship with certain elements of romance. In other words, it's a friendship that has sexual activity that you would likely see in a more romantic partnership. But it doesn't have the same kind of expectations, such as romantic commitment or labels. And these friends with benefits relationships often face some really unique challenges. For example, the two partners within the relationship might have difficulty with labels as they figure out whether they are friends, close friends, a little bit more than friends, etc. And many people who are in relationships that would be called friends with benefits report that they would like the relationship to stay the same, that they don't want any kind of change, that they like the way that things are going, whereas others who are in these relationships might hope that it would turn into a full-blown romantic relationship. So sometimes there's a difference in those expectations. And because of this, there's often a tension between the actions that the two individuals are taking with one another and the labels that they will use to describe one another. As a result, the individuals within this relationship might have to do things like establish rules or guidelines for the relationship, such as how they decide to tell others about their relationship, or who they decide to tell about the relationship. So those are just some of the challenges that these particular friends might face. As you can tell, we have lots of different types of friendships that we might engage in, and each one has its benefits to us. Each one serves our needs in a lot of different ways, and that's why we might have several different friends from each of these different categories.